What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Marcel. I'm back again with another video for you. Today we are going to do a beat walkthrough of a beat that I mixed recently by Sessbass, and we are going to just walk through and I'm gonna let you see what I did to make everything come together. So let's jump right in. Alright, so let's see. Here's a session. It's not too much going on in this session, and it's probably approximately total, including effects and the sub mix, is only 17 tracks. So I'm gonna play this and then we are going to start with the drums. Let's go. Excuse me. So that's the beat, and so let's start with the drums, see how I process those. And for the kick here, let me jump here. So for the kick, I didn't really need to do much on it. I added spectrum and I added around 170 hertz just to add it a little more punch to the kick drum and for it to come through on the cell phone just a little bit better. Because I know in my experience, sometimes adding that frequencies help really help the kick to punch through on it. So here's before. And here's after. And it just provides a little bit more knock. Provides a little bit more knock for the kick. I didn't really need to really process it that much. Just adding that to the kick drum really brought it out. So let's move on to the 808, and I want to show you something special because I learned this from Jason Joshua. And so let's just zoom in a bit here, pull these tracks down. All right, there we go. So what I did was I took this loop and I dipped out all of the times where the kick hit with the 808, where it was really prominent, because some of the notes it tended to die out on the 808, so I didn't dip it there. And so every time the kick hits, I dipped out the bass on the 808, and it marries it just a little bit better. And this is what it sounds like. And in addition to doing that, I actually brought down some of the spiky transients on the 808. It was very transient type of sound, and to keep it level with everything, I took it down just a few dBs just to get it to sound more consistent. And this is a really, really good secret. If you're having trouble with your kicks and your 808 really mirroring each other, I would really advise you to try this trick out and play with the volume. You don't want it to sound really, really dipped too much. and you can kind of play with the relationship between the volume of the kick and the 808 dips. I really highly recommend that you do that. It really it changed the way that I mix low end on that, and so excuse me, and yeah, so we would definitely benefit from that. And I wanted to let everybody know that was one of the big things that I recently learned that really changed how my kick and low end sound. Like my kick and low end, it sounded good, but it just took it to another level. So thank you, Jason Joshua, for sharing that. It definitely helped. All right, let's move on to the snare. I didn't do anything to the snare, and there's like a little Vox hit over here, and there's a loop here. So here's the loop. I did some processing on this, and so this is pretty much what I did, and I'm going to play it before and after. So here's before. But let me solo this so you can really hear it. All right, here we go. So as you can probably tell by my plugins here, you can probably get a kind of a gist of what I did for the loop and how I processed it on the Pro Q. I added some high end to it just to kind of fill the spectrum up. It felt kind of dull in that area, and I just wanted to give it some more high end, some more hi-fi sound to it. And for this plugin here, and I love this plugin, and I recently found this because I wanted to find another mid-side processing plugin that's simple and easy to use, not a lot of CPU, and that I wanted to switch out on my mixing template. And I was searching and digging because I downloaded this a while ago. I got it, and I never paid attention to it, so I just randomly did a search for anything with plugin with mid-side in it, and this popped up, and I used it on this track, and I found it to be very helpful. It's super simple. It has some cool little features down here, but for this loop, all I did was I actually took it down, took the side down a little bit, and I took the mid down even more. I didn't so much want to add amplitude to it, but so I took it down and I took the mid down a little bit, because the mid is where the hi-hats lives. If I let's enable first. Sorry about that. So this is just the mid channel. This is what's playing in the mids. And this is what's playing on the sides. And I just wanted to get a better balance of the mid and the side, and I wanted to gain control a little bit more over the hi-hats. So that's how I process this. Yeah, so let's do it before. All right, let's do it after. So that is it for the drums. That's what I did for the drums. Actually, you know what? Let's go over this sub. And if you've been watching, you know that this is featured in one of the episodes of Useful Plugins. It is K-Clip. And as the indicator says here, I'm probably shaving off about, let's get that, about 7.7 dB off of the overall drums. So here's with it. And here's without. So what it does, it just provides more headroom. And if you've noticed on this indicator here, when I bypassed it, it actually was clipping maybe by a dB or so, about maybe 1 or 2 dBs of clipping. But when I put the clipper on, it actually gave me more headroom. So I was able to still get a punchy sound, but it takes up less headroom, which gave me an overall greater a much louder mix. So that's it for the drums. For the music section, it's fairly simple, very simple. I have 3 instruments in this, and so let's play what the music sounds like for this section. And that's the entire beat. It's very simple. And for this particular sound, I did some EQing. So this is before. And this is after. And it's very simple. I took out a lot of low end, very unnecessary, kind of cleaned the sound up a little bit. And there was another sound here that I didn't like. And I didn't want to get rid of it. I just wanted to turn it down. And let's see if we can listen to what that sounds like. Make sure I got the correct band. And I did that because when it goes to the higher note, it tends to jump out a little bit more than when it goes to the lower note. The dun 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 dun. Like it goes higher in volume. I just wanted to bring it down and kind of push it back just a little bit. So that's how I process that. All right, so let's move on to the second sound. A little bit more processing here. I'm going to pull up these plugins and we're going to talk about how I process with these. All right. So again, some more mid-side processing here. I have a little bit of I wanted to tame the sides just a little bit overall. So, and there's a reason why I did that. So and the reason is, I'm kind of working backwards, but the reason is that once I added this chorus, it widened the sound a whole lot. And so to control the balance of the sides in the mid, I attenuated the sides just a little bit more than the mid to kind of help balance the level out to where it's not, the sides aren't so loud. And for this EQ, I just simply did some sculpting. There was just again a lot of unwanted lows. Really don't need them. And for this particular sound, I didn't really need anything really above 5K, so I took it out to kind of clean the top end up, so the top end from the snare and the hi-hat can freely live. So that's how I processed that. So I want to take these plugins out one by one. I'm gonna let it play, and then we're gonna do a final before and after. All right, so here's with the EQ enabled. Before, after, and it just helps it sit in the mix a little bit better. It helps sit in the mix just a little bit better. And so that's what I did for that. And for this hit here, I actually didn't do any processing on it. I just let it rock. It wasn't really interfering with the low end or the top end. So I didn't know. I didn't find a need to really do any processing on that. I just let it rock. I didn't feel the need to do anything to it. You can always do something to it, but sometimes in mixing, it's not always necessary to process something. Sometimes some things come good enough for the mix, and that's what I felt for that hit there. And for the overall sound of the music, I used the Magic Flow, and this plugin, man, it's complex but so simple at the same time. And what I love about and I love Joshua Gutwin. Him and Acoustica, they really did a great job on this. This plugin is very, very helpful. I mean, extremely helpful and very musical. I want to say that it's very, very musical. You can really get a good sound just by turning the knobs. If you just turn the knobs, mess with some things, you can really get a good sound of it. And I didn't do that on this particular song, but this is really good plugin. I may do an episode of useful plugins about this. Not an in-depth tutorial, but just an overall view on why it's helpful. But what I did was I simply used this parameter here, this peak leveling for this, just to kind of allow me to have a little bit more headroom on the final mix bus, and to give it some glue. I felt like it gave it the glue that the music needed. So we're going to solo this. I'm going to bypass, and then I'm going to engage it. So this is with it bypassed. obviously makes it louder, but it gives it that glue that I felt it needed. And that's what I did here for the music. And on the master bus, I have this EQ, I have limitless, let me pull these up. Here we go. And a host of different plugins. I'm gonna pull up the most important ones because the other one's more utility. So we have this as well. And the last one, last but certainly not least, the God particle. So this is what I have on my mix bus that I use on this. I have a template with other plugins, but I chose to use these for this beat. And so I'm going to walk you through what everything is doing. So down here on this EQ, I'm doing a little bit of shelving here on the high end, just 2 dB, just to give it a little bit more sparkle. I felt needed. I'm going to pull this up just a little bit. And for this also, I'm adding about 3 dB at 50 hertz. The client says he want a little bit more low end, and I added a little more low end over just the overall track at 50 hertz, and he was good with that. Now let's move on to what else did I do? Okay, so this band, this mid band at 5,600 kilohertz, I add about 3 dB just to add a little bit more mid range to it. Just a little bit. I felt that it needed overall. And that's all I did for this plugin. And so let's go ahead and move on to the next one in the chain. I want to do this by chain this time. All right, this in order. All right, so we covered that. So let's go to limitless. So limitless is just providing some overall glue to the mix. And I'm not really taking off that too much. The most it's probably taking off is probably around 2 dB. That's probably about it. Maybe 3 perhaps. Differs. And that's pretty much what I'm doing here. So maybe 3 dB if that at times. That's all I'm doing there. All right, so let's move on to mid side. I just wanted to poke out the sides just a little bit more, so I added 3 dB to this mid side processor that I showed earlier. And lastly, but certainly not least, I am using the God particle. And I love this plugin. I really love this plugin because it just allows me to get a lot of volume without it changing and shifting the balance of the mix around. And as an engineer, that was one of my just frustrating things when it comes to different limiters, that when you start to use and push the floor up, it start changing the balance of the mix way too much. and it was, oh man, it was, I can't really stress how stressful it used to make me when I was mixing, because I would get a good mix at a great place, and I would put a limiter at the end of it just to get it higher in volume, and be able to send out to the client just a little bit louder. And what I was finding was it started to change the overall balance of the mix. Like, for example, I was very frustrated, especially when it came to the level of my effects, in particular the reverb. When I would get a reverb perfect, and when I added that limiter, it would start to bring all of it up, and then I would have to go and rebalance a lot of stuff. And it's a common thing for people to do that, because especially when you want to hear what the final master is going to sound like, it's a good practice to do, and you kind of change the balance from there. Excuse me. But this plugin does not do that. It keeps the balance of the mix the same. It gives me more volume in the mix. And in addition to that, I have some other features at my disposal, like an EQ and just different indicators that Jason Joshua recommended for this particular plugin. And sometimes I abide by them, sometimes I don't, depending on what my ear is hearing at the moment. But this is the final thing that I have on here, and it just gives me that extra push that it needs. So let's play with and without all of that processing. All right, so let's get rid of these. So here we go. Before. And here's after. That is that. And here is just on this track, I didn't go over this, it's just a boom. Let me turn it up so you can hear it. And that is the beat that I did and that I mixed. So that wraps this video up. I hope that you like it. And if you do, please like, share, comment, subscribe. It helps the channel grow. And if you like this content, please comment below. I comment back. Let's talk. And if you have any type of suggestions for any upcoming videos or anything you would like to see or anything you would like more depth on, please let me know, and we can make that happen as soon as possible. All right, so until the next time, everybody, keep mixing.